and welcome to another episode of Hermione's white face poked out from behind a tree. This topic has kind of been a bit for me to address because, well, one, I only read the Harry Potter series in the past few years. It wasn't something I grew up with. Like, I was always aware of the films being there and I knew that the films were based on books, but it wasn't something I grew up with. So this topic is something that I don't feel like I have the nostalgic or emotional value to sort of comment on, but I am a big fan of the series now. I am a proud Hufflepuff, and basically I like to talk about fandom stuff on this channel. So, today's topic, does Hermione count as a POC character? POC, for those who don't know, means people of colour, and if you haven't noticed from my ring light, I am painfully white. Like, I'm pale. I was the kind of kid who was almost transparent. So I'm obviously approaching this topic as a white person, but I don't think that really comes into much importance with what I'm going to say. So hopefully you don't get too annoyed at me. Obviously, the main image that people have for Hermione is Emma Watson, because Emma Watson was hired to play Hermione in the Harry Potter films. Obviously, Emma Watson is white. So why are people arguing about Hermione's colour? To this day, I still see this argument going on Harry Potter pages whenever fan art gets posted and Hermione isn't the colour that whichever side is happy with. Emma Watson is the main image that people think of when they say Hermione, but the books were published before the films. I think that's a given. So, was Hermione actually described as a person of colour in the original books? No. But bear with me. The reason that people started fighting about this is because when Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the play, came out, a terrible, terrible idea. I'm not going to get into my thoughts on the Cursed Child, that's for maybe another day. The reason people started fighting about Hermione's colour was because in 2016, when Harry Potter and the Cursed Child came onto stage for the first time, there was obviously casting announcements and everything, who's going to play Harry, who's going to play Ron, etc, etc. And obviously the cast got announced as the way casts do. They did it one by one. And it was announced that a black woman called Noma, this surname, I don't want to butcher your surname, so we'll just leave that there. She was playing Hermione, and, well, she's black. And that obviously pissed a lot of people off. Like, for me, for stupid reasons. I am not at all bothered by the fact that they decided to hire a black woman to play Hermione. For me, I think that it's more important who portrays the character the best, who does the best impression, portrayal, acting basically as this character. Who's the best person to do that? They should be the person who gets hired regardless of their skin colour, unless it's a story that specifically depends on that element. Like, obviously you can't tell a story about a person growing up in the ghetto. I feel weird. I always feel weird saying that word. You can't have a movie about someone growing up in the ghetto and have the main character be a white person. It doesn't make sense. But obviously Harry Potter doesn't exactly impinge around the colour of the characters. So to me, it didn't really matter. What did bother me was that J.K. Rowling, in her recent woke brigade that she's been parading through her social medias in the past few years, she's been trying to kind of imply that this has been her plan all along. She was so diverse in her writing that Hermione was black from the start, and I just don't believe that. She insists that colour was never specified in the books, except in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, it says on chapter 21, I think, it says Hermione's white face pokes out from behind a tree. Now, obviously you can interpret this whatever way you want. You could interpret it that it was shock, because saying that your face is drained of colour and is white is a way of saying that you're shocked or scared. But I do feel like if that was supposed to be something that didn't imply on Hermione's colour of skin, it would have said pale. But that's just me. I think the use of the colour white specifically means that that's what Hermione looked like in J.K. Rowling's head. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that J.K. Rowling didn't originally think of Hermione as a black character, but I think it's great that she saw and recognized in Noma, the actress, that she was able to portray Hermione the way that she thought was the best and was able to put her on stage regardless of what she looked like or where she came from. I think that's what should be most important here, that we were able to recognize who portrayed Hermione the best. And some people love The Cursed Child, some people, a lot of people hate it for reasons I understand, and people love it for the only way I can kind of think of, the nostalgic value, but that's because I'm in the band of people who don't really like The Cursed Child. But I will recognize that there are people who genuinely enjoy it, and for them that means that they love this portrayal of Hermione. So does it really matter if they decide to draw Hermione in Noma's visage except younger when they're drawing their fan arts? No, not really. It doesn't matter. The thing that has always bothered me is J.K. Rowling's kind of her way of trying to say, oh, I was always like this. I wrote this diverse from the start. This was always part of my plan, you see. And I wasn't bothered when she announced that Dumbledore was gay. It does kind of bother just a little bit. Like, it's like, but there really isn't any way in the story for it really to come up. Like, when is Harry gonna find out that Dumbledore was gay, really, when all this other shit with Voldemort was going on? It just seemed like it would be out of place. So I wasn't bothered about that. But when J.K. Rowling is saying, like, oh, the reason that we hired Noma is because I always imagined Hermione as a person of colour. It's like, no, you didn't. It's pretty blatantly obvious that you didn't. None of us did. We didn't think to because it wasn't described in the book that way. Now, I don't know how a person of colour reads the books. Maybe in their head, if it isn't specified as well, they will imagine the characters in their colour too. It's what we instinctively do if we aren't told otherwise. So, really, unless it is put out there, like, blatantly, this is what this character looks like, we can all imagine the characters whatever way we want. And I think the main reason that most people got up in arms is because Emma Watson was hired to play Hermione, and because I would say a lot more people watch movies than read books. Emma Watson is the first person that came into everyone's head when they think of Hermione. As for the thing in The Prisoner of Azkaban with the pale face, I mean the white face, as I say, you can interpret that whatever way you want. I personally interpreted it that that's what J.K. Rowling meant, that Hermione was white, because I feel like if she meant that she was scared or whatever, it would have been, you know, Hermione's pale face or something like that. But to me, it doesn't really matter. I remember being a bit annoyed because I used to be like, I still quite am very anal when it comes to canon, things that are like real and part of the storyline, and I hate that being fucked about with, mainly because that's what's been going on with Doctor Who in the past near 5 or 6 years now. But it wasn't to me explicitly said that this is what canon is, this is what Hermione is. So I'm not that bothered. I remember thinking, oh, because I was like, is that canon? Because I don't think it is when I first heard about the casting. But the more that I've researched it and thought about it, it's not really explicitly canon. All there is this one line about Hermione's white face. And I genuinely don't believe that J.K. Rowling had a person of colour in her head when she wrote Hermione, but that's just my opinion. I can't tell her this is what you were thinking. But just judging by J.K. Rowling's behaviour recently, the way she gets on Twitter, I don't think it would be far-fetched for her to pretend that this casting announcement was made because she had a person of colour in mind. Because if she did, why was Emma Watson hired in the first place? But as I say, who cares? Obviously these actors are hired for their portrayals, for their acting ability. And considering the fact that the story doesn't impinge around where they're from or what their colour is or their nationality, the fact that we all put ourselves in the shoes of these characters unless told otherwise, it's something we all do. So I don't really I don't see the big issue here, whether you count Hermione as a person of colour character or not. I personally see Hermione the way I saw her when I read the books, because I never saw all the movies until I read the books. And I saw her, well, I couldn't help seeing her as some sort of model version of Emma Watson, because I always seen Emma Watson in the trailers, etc., etc. But that doesn't mean that what I saw in my head is the be-all, end-all of who this character is or what she's supposed to look like. I don't mind the hiring of a person of colour to play Hermione. In fact, I don't really think it should be an issue. Like, even saying I don't mind sounds stupid, because it shouldn't really matter at all. If this person can act, if she can evoke emotions from us through her portrayal of the script, who gives a shit? Who really cares? As I say, it would be completely different if it was important to the plot or if it had been explicitly stated in the books, but I really don't think one line about Hermione's white face is enough for people to get up in arms about it, especially considering the fact that the hiring of this woman made a lot of people of colour happy. Like, they felt represented. And I don't think who wants to shit on that? Like, really? Like, you must be some sad, sad person if you just want to shit on someone's happiness like that. So, is Hermione a person of colour? Well, really, it's down to the portrayal that you believe is the most representative of who she is. Should it matter? Not really. Should it still be an argument that I'm seeing in Harry Potter forms? No. But people will fight about these things until the ends of the internet, so I thought I would toss my 6p in on that. So that's all I really have to say on that. And what's your opinions? Comment down below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Harry Potter shite? I shouldn't even be talking about this in the first place. Let me know down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Buy my book also if you want to, but don't if you don't want to. I don't want you to do that if you don't want to. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye-bye.